Hi, everybody. This is one of the last lectures I'll be doing in this class, maybe second to the last. And you can see the topic here. We're going to get into software platforms. We're going to talk about modeling and forecasting. And actually, there are a couple of kinds of modeling. The word modeling is used for a couple of different things. So just be aware of that. And I'll try to distinguish between the two types of modeling as we move through this. And we're going to talk about data science as a thing to do, and even look at some jobs that are available and things like that. So the first kind of modeling is basically what we're doing is figuring out future behavior based on past behavior. So we're analyzing data for different people to try to figure out what they're going to do in the future, whether they're going to cancel a subscription, for example, or become MVCs or what have you. And so it's kind of the same as forecasting. So it's predicting the future, basically. The second kind of modeling is basically deciding how to set up a database, a large relational database that may have a number of child databases linked to the parent database, linked to each other, one to many to many, et cetera, what is the architecture basically going to be for a database? And then we're going to talk about data science and what it is. We're going to look at a nice TED Talk from a fellow. He's just a little bit hard to understand, but he says some interesting, I think, kind of big picture things about what data scientists do and what they can bring to a company, and how it's a lot more than just something a machine could do. It takes creativity and empathy, and plus being good with numbers. It takes a kind of unique combination of traits to be good at it. I'm going to show the slides from Chris Cardillo's presentation from a month or two back. You may remember when he came in and did a guest presentation for us, because he is a data scientist, and that's what he talks about. So I'm going to kind of reprise a few of the things he did. And then I'm going to do a list. I've got an Excel chart, and I'm going to show a list of some important software platforms that are used for all these things. You should be familiar with the names of these platforms and have some sense of what they do. It certainly won't hurt to have that. Okay, so topic one is forecasting and predicting the future. So for this, I'm just going to borrow some expertise from a colleague of mine who used to do guest lectures. Up till this year, it's the first time he didn't do it for me in this class, and I think if I'd pushed him a little bit, he would have been nice enough to do it, because he's a really nice guy. But we had Chris instead, so I didn't feel we had to necessarily hear from a data scientist, although Paul is a very senior data scientist. He's been at it a while. You can see here on his LinkedIn, 25 years of leadership in marketing analytics, ad tech, martech, data science, and product development. So, and he's got a great background. He worked actually for me at 1-800-Flowers.com quite a while ago. He was in charge of the database there. At that point, we had about 6 million people in the database. I'm sure it's a lot bigger now. And when he talked to us, this is a kind of, he was working for credit card company, and he gave an example of how he predicted things that the company was concerned about. Churn meaning people leaving the service. That's going to be almost always one of the big items that companies want to analyze. Why do I lose customers? And how can I tell this is a kind of customer I'm going to lose, or there are certain behaviors that are going on that are tipping me off that this person is not going to renew. Looking at how you pay for your annual subscription. So this was, what sort of credit card you used, or did you use a debit card? Was that related somehow? Or did you take a payment plan? Did you pay it all at once? I mean, he was looking at data like that. Site usage rate churn. This was one that actually Chris talked to us about. You may remember, I think it was when he was working with DataCamp, which is an online web-based training company for data software. It's actually a pretty interesting one to look at for you guys, as a matter of fact. But in Chris's case, they were able to show a strong relationship between people who weren't using the site very often, who stopped using the site, and then not renewing their annual subscription. That's not too surprising. Another one for Paul was to look at, people who went bankrupt, businesses that went bankrupt, in terms of how that affected churn. But all of these kinds of issues, again, were forecasting and predictive modeling issues, okay? Where, again, I can look at the data I have, transactional data, much of it, and make a prediction about, what's going to happen in the future. And one reason I've got Paul up there at the front is he actually talked to us about a lot of different software platforms. And that's the chart I'm going to review at the end of the presentation. Is a lot of it's from Paul, so I just want to give him a little credit. Okay, so predictive modeling forecasting comes from demographics, psychographics, purchase and usage behavior. So a lot of the things we've been talking about this term are used to predict behavior. Here are some of the things that are typical issues. The second one is the one we talked about: which customers are in danger of leaving you and which are likely to stay. Which customers and prospects are likely to buy and which are not likely to buy would be another one. Which products they're more likely to buy. That's the kind of thing Amazon's pretty good at, right? Okay. Prospects and customers and segments react in predictable ways. So, again, this is just kind of repeating what I've been saying, but the behavior used in predictions is in your transactional database. Demographics, if you don't have them from a survey that you did yourself, you can get them from an outside source. And we looked a fair amount at outside sources this term. The one I keep bringing up is Axiom, also Experian and others. It's not always possible to predict customer behavior based on the data you can collect in a database, right? So it's almost like, when I ask a question on, I think the midterm, what can you tell about an individual based on the zip code that she lives in? I mean, that's another example of not being able to predict an individual customer's behavior based on some demographic factor. Because the right answer to that question was, well, you can't predict really anything about an individual. You can predict the average, or you can know the average income and average education level, maybe average age or family size or ethnicity, but you don't know about any individual. Okay, and it's the same thing that this is saying. You can make a prediction about a group of people who act a certain way, but you can't predict every single customer. Okay, and this predictive model is developed from how people responded to previous promotions. And you need to track results. You need to have a kind of a track record of seeing how people have responded to emails and different product mailings. And this past behavior helps you predict. Okay, so once you have built a model that works by looking at past behavior, you can improve your response rates. And this you would also do via testing. As you know, we're always testing with direct. So basic use of predictive models to concentrate your attention on those most likely to respond and purchase, and to avoid promoting to people not likely to respond. So for an example here, is you send a promotion to 100,000 people offering a product, you get a 2% response rate. You build a statistical model identifying the characteristics of responders and non-responders. Makes sense, right? And now you compile a new batch of 100,000 names. And if you mail only to the 50,000 who the model identifies as most likely responders, you get a response rate of more than 2%, perhaps 3% or more. Much more profitable for you. And it'll avoid bothering people who are tired of getting a bunch of emails. That just makes good sense, doesn't it? Okay. So you're doing a promotion, or you're looking at a previous promotion. You're making sure that you have enough respondents to predict statistically what's going to happen. A few hundred people is usually not enough. The author of your textbook wants at least 500 conversions. So 500 is 2% of what? And it's 25,000 people. So you're looking at a minimum, sort of a guide mark of sending a promotion to at least 25,000 people to be able to analyze it and get the useful data. And then you add demographic and behavioral data. He mentions this company, AmeriLink. I don't really know about them. This is worth looking at, as he says. I'm not sure they exist anymore. I mean, why don't we take a look? Here, hang on a second, folks, while I do a little playing around. See if AmeriLink exists anymore, shall we? Okay. Should have done this before, and I apologize. AmeriLink. Oh, probably going to get something weird. Oh my goodness, Wonderman Data Products. Oh, well, how about that, everybody? That's a name we know. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Look at that. Very nice. Lifestyle information, attitudinal. Exact age for more than 240 million. Look at that. More female names. Hey, 250 million customers by ethnicity, language spoken, and religion. Look at this. Wow, how about that? Okay, Telesite and Cosmos. Get more for your business. So, let's see what this is. Okay. This sounds like this is what we're doing here. This is what you'd want to use. Personalize to create conversations. Okay, interesting. Okay. All right. Very interesting. And it's Wonderman Data Products. How about that? So it's owned by, guess who? Wonderman Advertising. Good old Lester's namesake. Now let's get back here to our presentation here with any luck. Okay. Okay. And there you go. Modest cost. Well, that's good to know. Let's add that one to the list. AmeriLink. I'll paste it in this slide. for the future. I think we're at the end. I'll see you on the other side.